The price of a lot of expensive cards just went way down with the new Heritage Collection too. And with that in mind, I think a new lot of good decks are now being very budget ones, like decks under $100. So this is the theme of the video today. I'm gonna talk about the 5 best decks that you can build above the $100. And I gotta say, this is not taking the value of the hand traps and the staples. Of course, if you put into your deck a copy of Espilironite, the copy of Espilironite by itself is gonna be more expensive than any other card over your deck list. So that's not taking into account this kind of cards, because staples, cards that are generic and you need to play them in all of your decks, they should not be taken apart on the money count of how much it costs to make your deck. But we are also gonna show up some decks here that don't need any of those cards, so you don't need to buy Ash Blossoms, Impermanences, Espilironite, or any kind of staple. I'm just gonna show you now the decks. A few of them need these cards, need to play some Impermanences, some Cross-out Designators, but some of them don't need, and they still very cheap. If you like this kind of content, I will ask you to please already subscribe, already give me a like, and maybe if you like this video at the end, give me a comment. We are now 1K on this channel. I'm very happy with this mark, and I hope to keep growing with this channel. With that being said, let's talk about the 5 new best budget decks for the format. Pearly is the deck that got mostly reprinted on Heritage Collection 2, and now this deck is extra cheap. Like, you can build this deck under $100, and I think this is the most important thing. But I gotta advertise to everyone, Pearly is such a hard deck to pilot well. Yes, I know, sometimes it's not hard, you just go activate cards, go for your big noir and win the games. But that's not true for many of cases, because this deck has not a high ceiling. By that I mean, the plays you make with this deck, they are not very crazy or very strong. So you need to play it very well to maximize your odds and your good chances with playing this deck. We have been seeing a lot of good players having a lot of success with Pearly. A lot of the pro players over the community love this deck because it's a deck that rewards you a lot if you play like a machine. If you are like the best player on the room playing Pearly, this will mean a lot of success to you playing this deck. But if you are going to start in the locals, I think this is a very interesting choice, because it's gonna be a challenge to you to masterize in this deck, to be the best player with Pearly over all your local, because it's such a hard deck that when you get good with Pearly, you're gonna be good with any other decks of the format, because you are already in another level of being good at Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, the strategy of this deck is based on the 2 level 1 monsters, the Black Pearly and the White Pearly, and they have plenty of good spells, and those of the quick play spells, they also have monsters on the extra deck that correspond to their cards, and they also get plenty of effects. But the main reason of the strategy is the X-Pearly Noir. There is like a big boss, which when you make it with 5 or more materials, is unaffected by all the effects from your opponent, and can also detach 2 cards from itself to shuffle a card from the field. Yes, I know, this is a deck where playing well is very important and very rewarding, but if you are feeling to have a challenge right now, this deck could be like the Pearly Core. You can buy it for like less than $30, then you have plenty of space to put up like Cross-out Designators, Impermanence, Ash Blossoms, a lot of good staples that can also help you with your gameplay with Pearly. The next deck is Tenpai. Yes, I know, the Tenpai Dragon, besides the Trident Dragon, that you should ask your friend if they have one, who knows. But this deck is very cheap. Like, even though the Pydra is getting more expensive, you can easily get like a full core for under $60, and then you need to fill up all the other cards with staples. Like, you're probably gonna play Ash Blossoms, Lightning Storms, Forbidden Droplets. Nothing over these cards are very expensive. Like, they are sometimes like $5 card, maybe something like this. You're gonna pay a bit more if you wanna play a Promethean Princess in your extra deck, but for a local level, I don't think all of those expensive cards are necessary. So this is a very good deck to take right now and to keep improving by yourself. You're gonna play some locals, get some boosters, get some new cards, change those new cards for better staples that you need to play in this kind of deck. So this strategy is heavily based on going second. So you try to interrupt your opponent with some board breakers like Lightning Storm, Forbidden Droplet, or even with hand traps like Ash Blossom and Infinity Impermanence. And then you have by your engine a lot of Fire Dragons that are just gonna try to kill your opponent by any ways. This deck is so aggressive. It's one of the most aggressive decks Yu-Gi-Oh ever had. And this is one of the top meta contender at high level. These decks keep winning a lot of events, keep winning ICSs, keep winning national events. So we're gonna look at this deck way more from now on, because there are also more supports coming for the Tenpai Dragon, but still a very interesting pick if you wanna just go for logos. Yes, there is kind of problems. For example, if you get well known by being a Tenpai player at your locals, everyone is gonna start make you go first, and this is bad for you. But still, this deck can still be very good, better than other decks overall, and can still improve your game a lot while you are gonna play locals, while you're gonna improve yourself while playing this game. So that's why I highly recommend you to build a Tenpai Dragon. I think this deck helps you a lot over your new player experience, and especially a new budget player experience. This is also a deck that is not so hard to play. Yes, I know, the mirror match of this deck is highly skillful, but for many matchups, you just have to activate your cards, know when to interrupt your opponent, and just do your OTK lines. So it's a very good deck for the kind of people that don't play Yu-Gi-Oh a lot, for the kind of people that is like giving a break to the game and then just picking some cards back and just wanna go for something easy. Tenpai is one of the best decks of the meta, is very cheap, and is like the best recommendation I can give to you guys, because since this deck is also gonna receive more supports further, I think the chances of this deck going down for banlist is like 0 by now. But still, it's Konami, who knows. Well, the third option is the Floowandereeze. Yeah, the guy who built Floowandereeze in 2022 is like going extra bonus. Like, this deck didn't die for a single moment. It was always a viable option. A lot of good players, especially all over the United States and Latin America, loves to play Floowandereeze. Yeah, I know, it's weird when your opponent just go for Shifter you and then they Dark Hurler no more and almost one Robin. It sucks, I know. But this deck still has a lot of good things to do. Like, it's very interesting how this deck can be a competent deck with a decent playstyle. And there is also a lot of funny interactions that this deck can get you. Yes, of course, it's not funny to get floodgated by Enpen, but at some point your opponent has to decide if they are gonna for Ryza, for example, which cards they are gonna take out from your field. And I think this deck is also on the same line of Tenpai Dragon, of being extra cheap, is not gonna get hit by banlist, never basically, and is also very good for players that are coming back for the game, or players that are starting on the game right now, because there aren't many mechanics on this game that are hard to understand. There are any mechanics on the Floowandereeze that's like, oh my god, do I need to go for link summons? I don't know how to link summon. And then you can just play this deck as your regular bank deck. Yes, I know, I also hate Floowandereeze, but it's cheap option. I think it's very decent for someone who is turning back to the game. And besides all that, this is a deck that also has a lot of success on big events. Like, this deck won ICS less than a year ago. This deck keep going well and performing. Topped ICS Rio, the deck topped a lot of regionals, so it's a very decent option. Well, the next deck was a deck that made this video. Dinosaurs. Yes, I know. This deck seems weird, but this deck just made top 16 as one of the biggest Latin American nationals, the Chilean one. And when you look at this deck, there is nothing expensive on it. Like, even Crossroad Designators was one of the most expensive cards. It's like $3 right now, $2 right now, due to Rarity Collection. So it's a very interesting pick, because our other decks I'm gonna show you guys right now, they are like stun, they are like mid-range, they are at least like aggressive decks, OTK decks, but none of them are combo decks. And I know a very big part of the Yu-Gi-Oh community loves to take some deck and combo. And if you are one of those players, or if your friend that's coming back to the game is one of these players, one of the best options under $100 is the Dinosaur deck. Yes, of course, I probably could recommend you guys to go for Hate Raptors, to go for Dinomorphia, for going for this kind of deck, but I think for aggressive playstyle of playing combos and also going for the budget of under $100, I think this dinosaur is very interesting, especially because now we are playing a lot of the new cards. Like, we are playing the Xeno Meteorus with the ground Xeno, we also have to play Frostrosaurus as a brick for Xeno, we're playing Kaitoptera, and this is just for allowing us to play the Hornetsaurus and to play the Transcendentosaurus Gigantosder. Two new combo pieces that let our deck way more aggressive, but also gives us more resilience and a better end board overall. So if you are not familiarized with what the dinosaur deck do, I think it's very fair to you to give a look at it, because this deck is hella funny. I gotta admit to everyone, this deck's so funny to play. I haven't been playing this deck from like 2 days, something like this, and oh my god, how I enjoyed this deck. They are like so amazing. And for the end of the video, I think this is the most budget deck possible, Running Stun. I think you can buy this deck for like cents, for real. Like, none of the running cards are expensive right now. All the Floodgates, they are also not expensive right now. And this is a very competent deck, like a lot of good players. Even Aaron Furman just made top cut of ICS playing the running stun strategy. So this is a deck that if you pilot it well, you can get into the high stands of big events. Yeah, there is no such thing like, oh my god, I'm gonna have so much skill by flipping the skill drain and the Floodgate. But still, it's a cheap option. It's a deck that makes success at events, and it's a pretty competent deck if you just wanna flip some cards. This is especially for the kind of guy who doesn't wanna read any of your opponent cards. You just flip your best cards and take the win from your opponent. Of course, as any stun approach of any deck, this deck isn't the most funny way to play right now. But it's still very decent, still very competent, and I think it's a good recommendation for everyone who wanna have success with a budget deck over a tournament and don't want to spend any kind of cent in hand traps, in cards like Speedolonite, in cards like Typhoon. I think this is the best call you can make out of everything here I just said. And if I can give you guys a hint, I think the two best options right now if you want to go for the budget are the Tenpai Dragon, if you can go a bit over your budget just to fill in your main deck, your side deck, your extra deck with generic cards, or the Running Stun deck if you can't go up on your budget. If you really need to keep on your budget, I think this deck is one of the best options that you have right now. But that's up to you. Do you guys think I forgot to say anything about any deck? Do you guys think there is any better option that fits on everything I said right there? I will ask you to please give me these comments right down below. Please subscribe, please give me a like, and with that being said, see you guys next video. Goodbye.